Hello and welcome. Today we will look at the modification of the Tunisian Basketweave Stitch. So if this is your first time, thank you very much for stopping by. My name is Mirka and I make stitch and pattern crochet and Tunisian crochet tutorials. So if this is of your interest, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, and without further ado, let's dive in. So the modified Tunisian Basketweave Stitch will be a multiple of 5. And we will work over 8 rows. However, because you always repeat 4 and 4 rows of the same stitch pattern, it's really repetition of 2 rows. So once we start crocheting, you will exactly know what I mean. So we start with a slip knot, place it on our hook, and we will chain a multiple of 5. So for chaining, you will yarn over the hook, pull through the loop that is already there, and we will repeat this for multiples of 5. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to do one more repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we now follow with the foundation row. So we will work into the back palms of your chain stitches. So turn your chain around and work into the back palm. So we're going to go from front to back, yarn over and pull up a loop, and repeat this for every stitch of your chain. Once you get to the end, you will then work return pass. So it's always good, before we work the return pass, it's always good to double check that you've got the number of stitches on your hook that you intended. I've got 20, that's what I wanted, that's multiple of 5. For return pass, we will work the standard return pass, which is a chain 1, pull through 1 loop, or yarn over, pull through 1 loop, and we will follow by yarn over, pull through 2, all the way to the beginning of your row. For the first row of our stitch pattern repeat or our row repeat, we will work 4 Tunisian knit stitches, or Tunisian knit stitch next 4 stitches, whichever way you prefer the instructions. So for Tunisian knit stitch, you place the hook from front to back between the front and back vertical bars. So you place the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. That's 1 Tunisian knit stitch. That's second, third, and fourth. Now we will work 5 Tunisian reverse stitches. So for Tunisian reverse stitch, you turn the work around and you will work into the back vertical bar, yarn over and pull up a loop, and we will repeat this 5 times. Okay, so we've got 5 Tunisian reverse stitches, 2, 4, 5. Now we will go back to working 5 Tunisian knit stitches. We've got 5 Tunisian knit stitches, and we've got 4 stitches left, and then the end stitch. So for the remainder of the stitches, which is in my case 4, you will work Tunisian reverse stitch, 3, and 4, and then the edge stitch or the end stitch. So you will place the hook under both strands of your yarn over and pull up a loop. So as you can see, the multiples worked out perfectly over the 5 stitches. So just to recap, if you made a multiple of more than 20, in my case, you will repeat, you will start first 4 stitches in Tunisian knit stitch, then you will alternate Tunisian reverse stitches and Tunisian knit stitches each for 5 stitches all the way to the very last 5 stitches of your work, and whichever stitches are then should follow in order, so it depends whichever multiple you did. You will work 4 stitches of that repeat, and the last one is the edge stitch. This way, working the first 4 stitches and the last 4 stitches of the repeat in a particular stitch makes the stitch pattern even. So if you added 5 plus 2 for repetition of 5 of each stitches and 2 edge stitches, then the sides would look a bit wider, so the end of your work would look a little bit wider, which is not a problem. If you prefer to do that, you can do that. I like to balance my edges to kind of visually flow with the stitch pattern repeat. Okay, so now we will follow this by a standard return pass of chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2. For row number 3, which will be the second row of our stitch pattern repeat, we will repeat row number 2. Again, for row number 4, we will repeat row number 2. We again repeat row number 2. For row number 6, we will reverse or alternate the stitch pattern. So while first we started with 4 Tunisian knit stitches in the row below, now we will work 4 Tunisian reverse stitches. Now where we have Tunisian reverse stitches, the next 5 stitches is Tunisian reverse stitches, so now we work Tunisian knit stitches into these. Then we will work 5 Tunisian reverse stitches, and once you get to last 4 stitches before your end stitch, you will work the alternate to the row before or the row below. So I was working 4 Tunisian reverse stitches previously, so now I will work 4 Tunisian knit stitches into this, and end stitch, followed by a standard return pass. For row number 7, 8 and 9, we repeat row number 6. So once we do the basic repeat, row 2 to row number 9, you will then repeat 2 to 9 for the length of your project. If you like to balance the bottom and top edge, you will then add an extra 4 rows of rows 2 to 5. So once we've got the length of the project done, we will now bind off our work. So we can have we can use 2 different methods to bind off our project. We can either use Tunisian simple stitch bind off, in which you will insert the hook into the next stitch as if for Tunisian simple stitch. So it's from right to left under the front vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop and pull through the loop which is already on your hook. And we repeat this for every stitch of our row, and this will create neat edge on the top which resembles the bottom edge where we started with chains. So there is one option to do that. The second option is to bind off in a stitch pattern. The reason why we would use that, the bind off in stitch pattern, is because when you bind off in Tunisian simple stitch, the last row looks like the row below, then look like Tunisian simple stitch row, which you might choose not to do because it, in a way, it distorts the overall stitch pattern. So as you can see, it looks quite different to the stitch pattern that we've worked so far. That's why we can do bind off in the stitch pattern repeat. So in the row below of the bind off row, we work Tunisian reverse stitches. So we would work Tunisian reverse stitch, but we wouldn't keep the loop on the hook, we will pull it through. So it's the same principle, just working a different stitch. So you bind off Tunisian reverse stitches, one more, and then where you've got Tunisian knit stitches, in the row below you will bind off Tunisian knit stitch style. And we will do that all the way up to the end stitch and bind off the end stitch. Cut your yarn and pull it through. So as you can see, these two methods look quite different. On the first half, I bound off in Tunisian simple stitch and I bound off the remainder in stitch pattern. So you can choose whichever method you prefer. Okay, and this brings us to the end of the tutorial. I hope you found it useful. Please let me know in the comments below, have you used the traditional basket weave stitch or this modified basket weave stitch for any of your projects? And if not, what would you use it for? I would love to make a blanket in this stitch pattern. Let me know what you would like to use it for. And as always, please consider subscribing, liking and commenting on this video. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm so that more crocheters can find this tutorial and more crocheters